So, I like games, but I've got this problem where I've played most of the games I own already, which sucks, because it's hard to monetize something I've already done by pretending it's live commentary or the first time I'm seeing it. Luckily, I don't have to, thanks to a wonderful little game called A Link to the Past. By randomizing my dad's old Super Nintendo cartridge, I was able to play my first ever Zelda game like it was brand new, resulting in a 10-hour journey through Hyrule without knowing where Link stashed any of his items.
Okay, hopping right into this, it's randomized Zelda. Trying to find all the items, trying to beat Ganon, yada yada yada. Mig's house. I tried to put Mighty, but I guess it didn't work.
Taking my first steps into the world after somehow naming my character Mig, I opened my first chest to find a sword. The ability to murder enemies before they murder me is very important, so I'm glad I found this first, but it only gets better. After a short visit through the castle, where I promptly died, I headed over to Kakariko Village to go commit several petty acts of theft. Breaking and entering turned out to be pretty effective, and I found more than a few good items on the way. Getting a better sword was nice and all, but I also needed a new pair of gloves, cause when you're out saving the world, you gotta accessorize. And what goes with gloves better than another new sword?
I think there's a bombable wall somewhere in Kakariko that I'm forgetting about. Level 3 sword this early in the game. Are you serious? Rupees. Oh, wait. Wrong button. Level 4, I've maxed out the sword already.
Or two. You know, who's counting? So, armed with fab gloves and a sword-shaped nuclear warhead, I felt that Mig was looking a little too hot, so he had to go take a dip in the lake. Turns out this was just another chance for him to accessorize, though, as I managed to find the Moon Pearl too, letting Mig go from Boy Bunny to Playboy Bunny whenever he wants. Feeling a bit naughty, Mig went down to the dungeon kept in his girlfriend's basement to try and find some of his toys she snatched from him. But unfortunately, all he managed to do was get his heart stolen by her again. Realizing the grasp Zelda had on him, Mig knew that he needed to get out of the city if he ever wanted to spend another night with the boys, but all he managed to do was find a heart piece that reminds him of her. Must be nice. Anyways, my dating woes aside, Mig keeps looking for the right equipment Zelda stashed away by traveling far and wide, eventually finding a hammer alongside several heartfelt notes from Zelda, telling him he can now peg things too. Hammer pegs, of course. Using this newfound tool well, I send Mig off to the Dark World, hoping to find a way into the next dungeon so he can finally start saving the world, but turns out Mig's more broke than I am, which you could help by subscribing. Do it. So instead, it's time to go hunt down for some more items. After popping into a store to find a new shield, Mig finds a cave and bombs his way in to find Fox McCloud, hiding in shame from Star Fox Zero. So naturally, Mig starts to rob him, taking his money, magic, and a fancy pair of boots for failing to net Nintendo some of that sweet rupee goodness. Now able to strut his stuff at the speed of sound, Mig promptly dies. Returning to the Light World, Mig heads into the first dungeon hoping to find anything useful, but nope, all he meets is an unkillable enemy, so I guess we're coming back later. Heading back into the Dark World nets us a mushroom by feeding a fish a rock, somehow, before Mig heads into the library hoping to better himself, but once again, only finds a note from Zelda telling him to head to Detroit. After a quick stop to a teleporter, Mig finds himself in mortal peril as he explores this new, unfamiliar city. Taking a quick stop to find another note from Zelda, and to rob the city of what little money it has left, Mig heads into the thieves' den, but realizes there's little he can do to help the poor citizens of Detroit escape their economic and societal peril. He vows to return later to help. And no, it's definitely not because they murdered him, definitely not. Anyways, realizing the first step to helping others is to help yourself, Mig trades his magic mushrooms for a flute, thinking learning an instrument will surely be the first step he needs to tackle the kingdom's problems. Also, it enables fast travel after we go save a duck from a statue, which has the side benefit of letting me actually beat the game, so hey, nice bonus. After finding yet another note from Zelda telling us to head to the Tower of Hera, Mig uses his newfound feathered friend to enter our first completable dungeon in the game, and real talk, I don't really hate this dungeon because Moldorm, the boss, is garbage. He solely exists to annoy the player by launching him off the side and serves no challenge outside of that. So good thing I have the best sword in the game, otherwise this might have taken a while. The dungeon also nets us the lantern, letting us fight in brightest day and darkest cave, and a bug net to go fairy hunting, before we explore the rest of Death Mountain, finding the mostly useless magic boomerang, and a brand new bedazzled glove letting us pick up even heavier rocks. On his way out, Mig also picks up a participation medal Zelda left him and a bit of pocket money with a note telling him to go buy himself something nice. Taking her advice to heart, Mig returns to the Dark World and opens up Turtle Rock for later, before moving on to the rest of the mountain to find more loving notes from Zelda, this time sending him off to the first Dark World temple so he can finally pay the toll that the monkey is asking for. Why a monkey needs the money, I don't know, but it turns out I can't do anything here yet, so we'll come back later, I guess. But first, we find one more note from Zelda, telling Mig to stop being a coward and to face Detroit again. Heading into the dungeon is mostly uneventful, since there really aren't any new items here, but I did manage to find another one of Zelda's notes next to this girl, telling us to stay strong and resist the temptation of a vanilla relationship. Yeah, it turns out this was the right call, since the girl is actually the boss of the dungeon, and Meg already has one of those at home. Murdering the boss and taking their paycheck from the last poor soul she trapped in here, Meg moves on to the Skull Woods with Redeads and Wallmasters. This dungeon sucks, and I hate it, so let's just cover the important stuff. Nothing happened. Okay, but actually this happened.
Yeah, you alright there, bud?
So, at least something fun happened in here. Leaving the awful dungeon behind, Mig begins a marathon pegging session, opening up a new club where somebody left behind a nice set of clothes, which Mig, kleptomaniac that he is, takes without any further questions. Anything for fashion, I suppose. Taking a quick trip into the light world, Mig finds yet another participation medal before escorting a frog back home for money, which would normally be good, but I don't need a paycheck, I need a weapon. Fortunately, I can also escort a chest for another item, revealing another note from Zelda telling Mig to go take a shower, which she does by going to a swamp. Naturally. Feeling daisy fresh, Mig goes right back into a cave, finding a new bottle letting him drink on the go. Since we're already in the swamp, I decided to go back to the desert and tackle the dungeon there. Something normally impossible without the book, but with the mirror, not a problem. This dungeon also nets me the bow, letting me tackle those dungeons from earlier that I couldn't enter, before I head off to the boss and kill it with style. Heading back to Kakariko, I find the shield I already have, before going back to the graveyard hoping to find something else, and spoilers, it's just money. Depressed after finding nothing but financial stability, Mig heads over to see Zelda at the top of the castle, only to find her transported to another dimension as some weirdo in a robe offers to take over as dungeon master. Mig refuses and launches his balls back in his face, resulting in a permanent tear in reality. Oops. Hoping to find some more clues about Zelda's whereabouts, Meg heads back into her dungeon to find some better protection, which she promises him he'll need later. Scared and excited, Meg heads back into the dungeon after going to pick up a boomerang and cane. Now having a bow, clearing out the rest of the first dungeon is child's play, giving Meg no clues as to where Zelda is, but at least he got paid for his heroics. Paycheck acquired, Mig heads into Turtle Rock to get the hookshot, but without a fire rod, I can't explore anything else in here. But it does give me access to the hookshot cave where I can find a bunch of new items, namely the final participation medal and a few more notes from Zelda telling Mig to head off to Avengers Tower to steal from Tony Stark. Crashing into Iron Man's pad, there are a few key items to find, namely a mirror to use as a shield and to check out my apparently pink hair, and one final note from Zelda giving me a max boost to my HP. Also, I managed to perfectly time a bomb to take out these mini enemies after killing the big one. It doesn't contribute at all to the video, but I thought it was cool. Fighting Iron Man proved pretty easy, as I smashed his armor and then shot him with a bunch of arrows, proving that Hawkeye is indeed an underrated Avenger. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Having murdered a superhero though, Mig felt like he needed to be punished for his crimes, but with Zelda still missing, the next best thing will have to be Misery Mire, a giant maze of a dungeon without a hint of dopamine in sight. I'd go into more detail about what actually happens here, but honestly, it's mostly just me fumbling around and backtracking as I try to find anything before not doing that and going to fight the boss, which I ended up having to do twice because my game crashed. Pain. Still, this did give me access to super bombs, netting me the ice rod, which is basically useless outside of a single fight, but I guess it's nice. Anyways, having quit the self-loathing, Mig returns to the castle to get his flippers for a quick swim, then heads over to Lake Hylia to tackle the next dungeon. After spending his entire paycheck on bombs and arrows, Mig heads into the Iceberg Lounge to get rid of the penguin, hoping to clear his head with the cool air and hopefully make up for murdering a hero. Unfortunately, all Link finds is Krako, who, after being beaten by Kirby one too many times, hopes to be able to regain some dignity by taking down another Nintendo mascot. This does not end well for him. Still not having had his fill of water, Link heads into the lake dungeon in the Dark World, hoping to tone his body so it looks even better in all those clothes he stole. The mission is a partial success, as while Link does manage to tone his legs and find some more notes from Zelda alongside some spare change, he can't find any tools, and at this point, I'm stuck. I don't have that many overworld checks left, but I'm still missing a lot of items. Too many of them are locked behind the fire rod, and without that, there just isn't anything I can do. I mean, I do manage to find the silver arrows, giving me everything I need to beat Ganon, but without the ability to actually get to him, it's a moot point. I guess all there is left to do is begin the quest for the fire rod. Actually, wait. I don't need to visit either of the remaining dungeons. I already have all of the crystals I need. So with that little distraction out of the way, let's begin Ganon's tower, and what the hell is that? So turns out I do need the fire rod after all. See, there is a way to get myself over to this sconce without needing the fire rod so I can light it with the lantern, but it requires a very specific angle with a bomb explosion for me to pull it off, and I could only get it to work once no matter how many times I tried. So, back to hunting for the fire rod. Still, it wasn't all bad though. Exploring the basement of Ganon's tower nets a lot of items, including a nice new set of armor for Mig, giving him a bold new look, a shovel to dig an even deeper hole that he's already in with Zelda, another note from her, and a bag of Hylian cocaine. Not wanting to be seen with such a dangerous substance, Mig heads through the rest of Ganon's tower, managing to find the elusive fire rod, so mission accomplished, plus another walking cane and some steamy erotica Zelda swears is not hers. Heading to the top of the tower, and wouldn't you know it, I didn't actually need the fire rod to beat the game. The last key was just hidden inside an enemy. Huh. So Mig faces the wizard once again, this time asking for a foursome, but at this point Mig just wants to surf the net and decides to give the wizard a chance to do the same. With the wizard off for a booty call, I decided to go explore the rest of the dungeons to see what I'd missed. On top of giving Mig a chance to work out his upper body for once by digging some holes for money, he managed to find a cape to really complete his look, plus a few more giant monsters to fight. Having already collected mostly everything in the game, there really wasn't a point to all this, but I wanted to come full circle, and at this point I was just having fun, sue me. Finally, with all the exploring done, Meg went off to face the final boss of the game, Waddles from Gravity Falls. Mad about the series still not having a third season, it's up to Meg to calm him down by shooting him with several arrows.
Whew! Okay, that took way too long, but I did it. And that's the randomizer, baby. Now, to go to friggin' bed.
In what be the most violent acupuncture session known to man, Meg is able to defeat Ganon, freeing Zelda and returning home dripped out of his mind for one final night in the dungeon, but this time only to cuddle. Lucky bastard.